We all know who Godzilla is, right? You know, from Japan, he's a giant monster, he breathes fire, has multiple films, recently had one of his films, Godzilla Minus One, win an Oscar for Best Visual Effects. That was incredible, and it was definitely worthy because Godzilla Minus One is an incredible movie, and like the visuals are so good in that. But essentially, yes, Godzilla is very well known, and he is loved by so many people, including me. Well, I'm not a big Godzilla fan like some other people. I definitely want to be. I've been trying to grow my Godzilla love for like a while now. I mean, Godzilla is cool. He's like a giant monster. He breathes fire, and he has a lot of good movies from what I've seen. And yes, my favorite are 1954, Shin Godzilla, and Godzilla Minus One, but they're good movies. And as you can tell, a lot of these movies that people like hold in high regard are from Japan. Some people do like the American stuff, like the MonsterVerse, which I've seen quite a bit, like at least a little bit of, and I like some of it. I like some of it. However, there is another American Godzilla movie that a lot of people know about, or actually, I don't know if that's true. People do know about it. I don't know if a lot of people do, but a good amount of people do, and that is 1998's Godzilla, directed by Roland Emmerich, and it is not loved at all. No, many people do not like this movie, especially Godzilla fans. They say it is like a bastardization of what Godzilla is, and for me watching it, as someone who isn't like a die-hard Godzilla fan but wants to be and has been like slowly trying to learn more and more, me watching this movie, I was just like, okay, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's also, yeah, kind of just a pretty bad Godzilla movie. However, I do think there are some good things in it, so I'm just gonna talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, and how Roland Emmerich basically just wanted to make Jurassic Park, essentially. Who's Roland Emmerich? He's a director who has done a lot of blockbuster disaster films. Think Independence Day, think 2012, think Independence Day 2, I forgot what the title is, think Moonfall, I think he directed that one. Point is, he makes movies where, oh my god, everything is being destroyed, so they gotta stop it, and also people are running, they're screaming, and you're having a good time, I'm assuming. I don't know how most people think about what most people think about those movies. The point is, though, that's what happens in the movies. I think I have not seen a single one of them. Nope, I have not seen a single Roland Emmerich movie. It just never happened. But I looked into them, and I've seen the trailers and clips and the posters, and I kind of get the gist. They're disaster films, and you know, in a sense, Godzilla is a disaster story. You know, it's like a giant monster that destroys, you know, a city, and they gotta stop that. And we mostly focus on human characters who want to stop that. And so, yeah, I guess I can see why Roland Emmerich would want to do Godzilla, except when you're doing research, it turns out he did not want to do Godzilla at all. But I think what, like, if I get these facts wrong, please let me know. But like, essentially, I think the reason he said yes was because the studio was just like, hey, you can do whatever you want with Godzilla, anything, and this is what he wanted to do. And man, oh man, did people not really like it. All right, let's start with the obvious. Godzilla in this is way weaker than he is in like the Japanese films. Godzilla is like a giant monster, almost unstoppable, and like he breathes fire, and he has such an iconic design. You know, the Godzilla design, and while it does have differences in most different iterations, at the same time it does have enough so you can, when you look at it, you go like, oh, okay, I get it, that's Godzilla. Here though, it kind of looks like they just wanted to make like a T-Rex, but like just slightly bigger than I guess a normal T-Rex, but still quite smaller than what Godzilla is supposed to be. So they just make like a giant like lizard T-Rex thing. And here's the thing, I don't hate this design. I think it's like fine. Like it looks like a cool enough monster that would be like in a different movie. But with you telling me this is Godzilla, I'm kind of disappointed because I'm like, that just looks like a T-Rex, not gonna lie. It's like, and he doesn't breathe fire or anything, he just is a giant monster. And like, I mean, that's kind of cool, but like, you know, it's, Godzilla is like just so much cooler than just a giant monster. He can breathe fire, and it's like, he's like indestructible, mostly indestructible, and it's like, you know, it's just a little bit lame, you know? But the weirdest thing about this design is when I was doing research on the movie, it looked like the reason they went with this design to change it all up, to give him like this very prominent chin, to make him look like a slimmer and more, I guess, muscular, more T-Rex like, if you will, is because they wanted Godzilla to be sexy. I am not joking. That is their exact words. I found a quote, and it said, I wanted Godzilla to be very sexy, very slim and muscular. I believe that's what the quote was. But like, and like, when I heard that, I was just like, I mean, totally, I can 100% see it, because when I think sexy, I think the design of Godzilla from Godzilla 1998. I was just like, whoa, man, ooh, yeah, I was watching the movie, it's just like, ooh, man, is it getting steamy in here or what? I'm joking, of course. This is not a sexy thing at all. So I'm kind of wondering what Roland Emmerich thinks is sexy, you know? I mean, I don't like to, you know, like downplay anyone's fetishes or anything. Like, you do you, as long as it's not hurting anyone. But like, you know, that's a very odd fetish. I'm sorry, Roland Emmerich, giant lizard creature. Okay, that's kind of an odd fetish to have, but you know, you do you, I guess. You do you. Anyway, yes, that's what a lot of people seem to talk about when they talk about this movie. The Godzilla design itself is not good, and personally, I mean, I don't know, I like it well enough. It's just, yeah, when you tell me it's Godzilla, I go like, okay, that is kind of lame. But if you told me it was just like a monster named like Tim or something, I'm like, all right, cool. Tim looks pretty neat. But anyway, what is the movie about? I could tell you, and I'm gonna try, but if I'm not good at it, it's because I don't really love explaining stories, because it's kind of one of my least favorite things to do in these videos, but I'll go ahead and do it. So, Godzilla, he's wrecking up New York City, and Matthew Broderick, they have like this running gag where they keep mispronouncing his name, and I don't remember what the name is. I think it was like Zipopolis, Zimamopolis, Zip Zap Zap, Jimmy Jab, yeah. So Dr. Jimmy Jab, it's just like, is here to figure out what is this monster's deal, you know, right? Why is it doing what it's doing, I guess. And also there's like these French agents who are also trying to stop it, and they recruit Dr. Jibby Jab at one point. And also there's this one reporter lady who is not actually a reporter. She just like wants to become a reporter, and she thinks this Godzilla story is her big ticket to, you know, right, to becoming a reporter. And it turns out that she was the ex-girlfriend of Dr. Matthew Broderick. And so they also have some interactions. Also, she's friends with Hank Azaria, who I like. I love Hank Azaria. So when I saw him, I was just like, oh my god, it's Hank Azaria. Oh my god, Gargamel, Mo. Oh my god, just, oh man, that's awesome. I love Hank Azaria. He was my favorite character, honestly. And yeah, so they just gotta stop this monster, this Godzilla thing. Also, it turns out it can lay eggs. And then at one point in the story, which I'll talk more about later, the eggs hatch, and they gotta, you know, defeat all the babies. And then Godzilla comes back, and then like they gotta defeat that, and New York City is saved. And then they have like a shot of like an egg, and it cracks, and it turns out, oh, guess it's still around. Sequel possibly? Nope, never happened. So anyway, that's the plot, or like a really, you know, bastardized explanation of what the plot is. But like, you know, that's how I do things. The story overall is like fine, you know. It's like kind of like your typical kind of like disaster film kind of story, or like, you know what I mean, like, oh, this big thing, this crazy thing is happening to the city, and so these people have to survive, but at the same time they got some rocky stuff going on in their you know, personal life, or like they got to prove to like the big guys up top that they know what they're talking about, but they're all like, I don't want to listen to you, type of thing. Like, for example, like there's like these like I forgot to mention this, there's like these like people who, like this guy who's running for mayor, and like this guy who like works for him, and like, you know, they kind of like are also dealing with this monster thing. And like, funny enough is that they are basically designed to look like Roger Ebert and like Joel Siskel and Ebert. I don't think those names are correct at all. I will have to like check later. But like you know, they were two critics who like you know, they had like a show where they talked about movies, their opinions on movies. And I guess they you know, they decided, hey, these two like government people that they're supposed to be disliked by the audience, yeah, that's I guess they like you know, they decided, let's make them look like Roger Ebert and Siskel. From what I have seen of Godzilla movies, I've seen like at least like, I want to say 10 or 12. The best ones, like in my opinion, are 54, Shin, and -1. I know, kind of basic choices, but I think they're great. And looking at the best Godzilla stories, I think the best ones are the ones where the humans are the most interesting part. Like, Godzilla is obviously going to be great, but like when like he's not there, you have to be engaged with the humans, and those ones, I feel like I was actively engaged like with those humans. I was just like, oh my god, I care about these people. I don't want them to die. And here it's like, you know, I will say that the story itself was like engaging in a sense where I was just never bored, you know, right? Like, I was actively following along, and I didn't ever feel like I wanted to like go ahead and do something else. But at the same time, I can't actively say I was super interested. I was just kind of like, okay, I'm following along movie. It just felt like your kind of typical kind of like, oh, kind of disaster film type of story where there's this thing destroying the city and these people gotta survive and also stop it, you know, type of thing. And like, I guess that's like you could describe a lot of movies like that, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, the characters themselves aren't just that interesting. They just kind of feel like, oh, okay, I've seen these kind of archetypes before. So it was more like, oh yeah, I'm just kind of watching something that I have seen before. It's just not as good. But like, I don't know, I still found myself, like, just like I said, not really bored. Like, you got Matthew Broderick, you know, he's like just doing his thing. He just wants to figure out what is this monster's deal. And you got this lady who just wants to make it up to the big leagues in her job, but she also is like kind of sad because she still has feelings for Matthew Broderick, even though they are barely in the movie together. And so like, you know, but she's kind of like, oh, what do I choose, and that kind of thing. And Hank Azaria is there. You know, he's a cool guy. He helps her out sometimes. And I just love Hank Azaria. So that's mainly the reason why he's my favorite character, because like, I don't remember his name. I just know it's Hank Azaria. But he was cool. He's great. He's a Chad. But like, funny thing about the lady and like Matthew Broderick is that, like I said before, they barely interact. Like their first sees him on the TV and she goes like, hey, that's my ex-boyfriend. And then like when she wants some information on what's going on, she meets up with him, and then he has like a talk with her where he goes like, you know, you kind of broke my heart, honestly. And then they they don't interact for a while, and there's like a little part where she like takes some information that was supposed to be confidential from him, and they kind of feel betrayed, so they talk a little bit, and then a huge stretch of it, they're not interacting, and then by the end they are all like, you know what, why don't we give this one more shot? And you know, they they get together, and like I said, they barely interact. So for a long time, like they just were not in the same, you know, scenes together. So it's like I just didn't really care about the relationship. I was just like, oh, okay, they're together now, all right. The movie itself is like the story, I mean, it is very much just like I said, just kind of like your typical kind of disaster film story where it's like, with this time it's like a giant monster destroying everything. And so it's definitely like the type of story, like the type of movie story you would have playing on in the background as you're like doing your laundry or like cleaning up, you know, right? Something that it's like you're engaging with it, but like you're not fully like, you know, invested in it. You're not gonna stop your laundry just to sit down and go like, oh my god, I hope Matthew Broderick and this lady get together. You're just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, that's happening. All right, laundry, that kind of thing. And like, I mean, I don't really love that, but you know, still, I guess like I said, at least I wasn't bored. Something else about this movie that I want to talk about for a little bit is the Godzilla himself. Like I said, I don't like that they kind of weakened him from what he is in the Japanese films. I think it was supposed to make it more realistic, but like, it's a giant monster destroying New York City, you know? It's like, why does it really need to be realistic? This is like, and even then, like, Godzilla movies from Japan have done the Godzilla, but like realistic with more dramatic stakes, and they were still able to have him do cool stuff like breathe fire. Like, have you seen Godzilla -1? That was awesome. I mean, incredibly tragic. I felt so bad for those characters. I cried. Don't worry, I legit cried. But at the same time, he was pretty dope. And so like, I'd say you can do a like more realistic or dramatic type of story with Godzilla, but here it's just like, oh, you know, just like, and even then this movie still feels very corny. There are a lot of like lame jokes in this, like, you know, like there's like some things that I don't even know are supposed to be jokes, like, you know, the line that gets referenced a lot, like, that's a lot of fish, where they like have this giant fish thing to like this big fish pile to feed Godzilla, and Matthew Broderick just says, that's a lot of fish. And like, I just kind of went, wait, is that supposed to be a joke? I don't know. So, you know, there's that. It's still a really corny movie, I think. And like, I don't know, there's some enjoyment to that for me, because I kind of like corniness sometimes. I'm just saying, Roland Emmerich, if you wanted to do something more realistic, like, or like serious, I don't really think he did a great job, if I'm being honest. I mean, I still somewhat enjoyed it, like, in that sense, like, for how corny it was, but still. I lost my main point. The point is Godzilla. Yes, that's right, I was talking about Godzilla. A big thing is that they very much weakened him. He's just like a giant T-Rex, basically. And like I said before, in the beginning, I think it's because Roland Emmerich just wanted to make Jurassic Park. And the part you can so easily tell this is when, like, there's a part where they think they defeated Godzilla. They think he's dead now, but they realize there's a bunch of, he left some eggs because he can reproduce asexually. And so a bunch of eggs are left behind, and then those eggs hatch, and then the creatures decide to start running around, and they gotta defeat those, and they're basically raptors, like from the Velociraptors from Jurassic Park. And it's like, like just dinosaurs basically, and it's like this is what I mean, like, and that's like the big threat for a good chunk of the movie. It's like, and so it's like when I was watching, it was just like, this is a Godzilla movie. This is just Jurassic Park. This is just Jurassic Park. And there is a part where Godzilla kind of comes back and they gotta defeat him, but like a huge chunk of it is just the babies. So the basically the Velociraptors. So it is just Jurassic Park. Same goes for like the design. Like I said, it's just like essentially just a giant T-Rex. They just wanted Jurassic Park, but I will say this, the effects in this movie are mostly pretty good. Like, yeah, there are some CGI parts that feel a bit dated, but like when it comes to the practical stuff, it actually does look pretty good. Like some parts where like cars are being destroyed and whatnot, they actually destroy cars and it's like practical, and it looks good, honestly. And even like the scene where we first see like all the eggs in like the stadium, it looks actually really cool. I just went like, dang, that looks pretty good. That's like a good shot. And then like when you see the eggs hatch, it's legitimately pretty good. Like the effects are actually good. And like I think like overall, like, you know, it's like I'd be honestly more impressed if, like, you know, like I said, it didn't feel like they just wanted to do Jurassic Park. But I'm still somewhat impressed. I'm somewhat impressed. I'm like, yeah, you're clearly just trying to be Jurassic Park, but you know, it's still a little bit cool. Like overall, like the movie itself is like, you know, it's like fine-ish, I guess. I don't know. It's just like a typical like you know, kind of dumb disaster blockbuster film, but like it's a watchable enough one. Like, I mean, like I was like watching this, taking some notes, and I was just like, you know, I'm not having a terrible time. I wouldn't go as far to say I would watch it again, but I wouldn't say I would not watch it again, in a sense, like, I don't know, in a different scenario, perhaps. Not like just out of like, because I want to, I don't know. Point is, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm just saying, I guess, that this movie is fine-ish. If you look at it as just like I said, just like a dumb a disaster blockbuster film, but like where like the monster was like named something else, like I don't know, like Tim or something. Yeah, it's not Godzilla 1998, it's Tim. But if you look at it as an actual Godzilla film, yeah, it is pretty weak. But like, I don't know, I think there are enough good Godzilla films that you don't really have to focus on this one as a Godzilla film. You could just see it as like, I don't know, a interesting little experiment that America tried to do. Like them going like, look at my Godzilla film, and you go like, ah, yes, Tommy, that's pretty cool. But check out what your brother is doing over here in Japan, huh? Wow, yeah, it's pretty great. I mean, yours is like, it's like fine. But like, look at that. That just sounds mean. I don't know why I said that. Anything else about this movie? I guess it got a cartoon a few years later. And I actually have it on DVD. I don't know, I just found it at like at a dollar store at one point, like the complete series on DVD. I was just like, oh yeah, I don't know. I just picked it up for, I actually don't remember why. I just thought it'd be interesting. But I haven't watched it. I don't know, maybe one day I'll do a video on that. Or maybe not, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I just don't know what else to say about this movie, if I'm being honest. I don't know how long I've been talking for, but I don't feel like it's gotta be that long. I hope not. The last video was like 46 minutes, and oh man, but yeah, this movie, I got nothing else to say. I don't know. If only I could get like the opinions from like someone who is a deeper Godzilla fan than me, like someone who has been a fan for much longer and knows more of like a bunch of the stuff that I don't know about. But where am I gonna find one of those? All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go take out the trash.
Telling you it was all an inside job, it was a conspiracy. The moment they put Ron and Emmerich into that project, the cult was destroyed. I'm telling you, they never should have let him get away with that insult to our Lord and Savior Godzilla. It's like just the audacity of the design. They wanted to give him hips. Hips! He already had killer hips. How you don't get more killer hips than Godzilla? And then the jawline, he already had an iconic face, but no, let's give him a big beefy boxer jaw. Like, what was that about? And then Matthew Broderick as the sexy lead role? Godzilla's not supposed to have a sexy male lead role. They're just dudes. They're dudes for dressing for the film. It's all about the monsters. They just gave us a lazy T-Rex. He's not even taller than a building. He's not even taller than the Statue of Liberty. Why put him in the Atlantic if he's not gonna do silly shit with the Statue of Liberty? I mean, yeah, it was cool seeing the Chrysler building get knocked off and like pre-9/11 and all that. It's really cool that we got to see New York, you know, have a fun monster film where nobody really gave a shit. Because let's be honest, that's kind of how New York is. But I mean, go through all of that and the budget, and they wasted it on rain. All of that went towards rain, and oh my gosh, it's just, it doesn't even compare. We could have had a Godzilla American franchise from '98 to now, and we had to wait 12 years for them to get their shit together with Legendary because freaking Columbia dropped the ball despite doing the dubs for like 40 years. I'm telling you, it was awful.
So you don't think he was sexy?